Hey everybody, this is Colin Seuss, and I'm going to talk a little bit today about how to set up a folder structure up on Google Drive to handle your versioning for your game. This is kind of a bare minimum sort of a way of handling things. If you're working with like a large code base or a lot of files or a big team, you probably don't want to do this way. You'll probably be happier with something more robust like GitHub. But for an initial foray in while you're still in early design, doing paper prototyping, that sort of thing, this is a good way to go from nothing to something. There'll be links in the description below. I've got a file up here that goes over most of the stuff that we're going to talk about. So here I'm out on my drive, and I've got this folder called Game. Inside the game, I've got a couple of folders. One Scratch, which is like a folder that anybody can use, and you just regularly delete all the files in there. It's just for temporary files. One is for licenses. This is an important one. Whatever you grab, any assets that are out there, grab the license too and toss it right here. Because it means 10 years from now when somebody comes and says, hey, you're using this thing that you don't have, that's mine, that I made, and I didn't say you can use it. You say, oh, well, here's the license that we're using. Cuts out a lot of garbage. Creative is down here. Creative is an interesting kind of a discipline on its own. I just have some folders in here to handle some of the things that you may have to deal with. What makes creative interesting is that oftentimes the creative does not need to iterate on the same pace as other pieces of the build. Like, you get a playtest, you'll change some rules, now you have a new build. That the art usually doesn't affect. So let's talk builds real quick. So inside of builds, I've got a few different branches. The most important one always is main. So we'll take a look at that real quick. Inside of main, I've got 3 builds right here, and these just have the branch that they're from, the year, the month, the day, and then the timestamp in 24 hours. The reason you do it this way is so that you can really easily sort and get to, whatever the latest thing is. Hey, didn't I just say the word latest? Well, you make this folder so that everybody knows where to go. This is really helpful if you're doing like automated builds, which later on in the process you definitely should be with automation. Inside of latest right now, there's nothing, even though inside of here, the most recent build, I do have some stuff. So this makes you go, okay, well, wait, am I going to copy everything into latest all the time? Thankfully, no. Because you can right-click and add shortcut to drive, and then navigate all the way into where you want the shortcut to be, which we're in main, and we want it to go in latest, and you add that shortcut. Adding shortcut to latest. So now, when anybody in the team goes to latest, they go in there and they've got the latest build right there. And here we see we've got a bunch of files in here, including some game object databases that we'll talk about in another video. And that is the highlight for how to deal with this. I guess the only other thing that would be useful maybe is to talk about the different branches. So the reason why you have different branches is because you may fork your build off to deal with something if you don't want it iterating in the same pace as main. So if you have, like, say you're going to PAX and you want to have a specific set of the rules that are polished up to a certain point, then you would make this fork off into PAX 2021, and that's your new branch. And inside of there, you would have builds just like main, and a latest just like in main. Alpha, beta, same sort of thing. Archive is to help you stay clean so that you don't have hundreds of builds everywhere. You can just kind of toss them into the archive. And because everything's prepended with the branch it came out of, you're never going to be confused about where it came from. Tammy, say you've got someone named Tammy who has this cool, great feature that they want to work on, but not everybody's convinced that it'll be good. Well, you just fork off another branch, and Tammy can work to their heart's content on whatever it is, and then bring it back. And if people like it, then you integrate it back into main. So yeah, that's the quick and dirty. Beyond that, it's probably useful to know that Google Drive has a bunch of versioning and fallbacks that you can do natively, so you don't have to create copies of these files over and over and over within the same build, although it's useful to make a new copy of things when you move to a new build. It's part of one of the ways that you can tell if you need a new build is if something's different, and at that point you're like, okay, well, we should integrate all the changes that we want and then say this is our new build. Yeah, that's the skinny. I hope you all had a good time, and I will look forward to talking at you in the next video.